This week on Kelly Aviation, we'll be installing the bathroom shower. I'll take you through the process of the buildup and installation of the shower basin and all the woes that I had with the plumbing underneath that floor. I also installed a shower surround and this decorative shower rod you see at the top. It did come out just a little bit tight, but I do like how everything turned out for the space that it had to live in. I also installed a small 2.5 gallon hot water tank underneath the kitchen sink. So follow along with the build. I hope you like the video, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Here you can see me installing the remote faucet head for the shower onto the normal faucet on the wall of the shower. This is before all the paneling went up. I also had to install all the PEX plumbing, which meant I also had to drill out all of the holes for that PEX to drive through all of those studs. I think I just used a 7/8 inch drill bit for the 1/2 inch PEX line that I was running through the trailer for all the plumbing. I think the hardest part of running all of the PEX through the little lines and whatnot was just simply making sure that nothing got kinked while I was pulling it through to its respective faucets and whatnot. I did use PEX B. PEX B is the type that has a clamp on the end that you'll squeeze down over the top of the fitting versus PEX A, which is mostly what we're using in homes nowadays, like new builds and whatnot. PEX A is the one where they expand the tubing over the fitting and then put it on. But it turned out to be a very simple process. Here you can see me installing the grommets that hold the line to the studs of the walls. This is basically just all home installation type stuff, but it worked out really well. You can see right here on the back side of the faucet where how the PEX line will attach to the fitting that goes to the faucet. There's a little chrome attachment right there, or the clamp right there, and then you just take the tool and simply squeeze it, and it sucks down on top of the fitting, and that's it. There's nothing else to put on there. And you can see me here, I'm just kind of running it through the rest of the walls to get it back to the hot water tank. Because this was a shower, I had to run both hot and cold lines coming in from the main water and coming in from the hot water tank. So you'll be able to see that both lines are running basically parallelly with each other through the walls to get up to the faucet in the shower. I also had to think about when later on when I had to work on any faucet that I needed to have access to the backside for maintenance on the back side of the faucet. So I had to actually create a passageway or a way to get to the backside. So the wall back here where you can see me clamping this on right here, with actually all I have to do is take some screws out and I can slide the wall completely out, and I have access holes through my power barn that allow me to get to the backside of that faucet. So there's a lot of thinking that you had to do and come across when I was installing all this stuff to ensure that later on I had a way to fix it or work on it should I need it to later on down the road. And right here, you can just see me installing more of those clamps that hold the PEX line in place. I didn't really want this stuff moving around inside the trailer as I was driving. So once all the PEX line was installed, I was able to start measuring up and fitting all of the wood paneling for the walls inside of my shower. I also use this type paneling. It's like a 1/8 inch birch paneling, wood paneling, and I'm just cutting it to fit for the areas and then installing it right here. I'm putting in glue, regular wood carpenter's glue on each one of the studs in the wood, and then I'll grab the paneling and I'll place it in there. And then once that's in and it's all secured, I'll go ahead and I have a finish nailer that I used, and I was finish nailing the panel in place so that panel will not move. Um, what this did is it created a wall for later on when I put the shower wallboard up against that paneling, and then sealed everything in place. I also, before I put that paneling in, I also caulked up quite a bit in some of the areas in the grooves just to doubly ensure that I wasn't going to get water leaking through down into the floor of the trailer. And once the paneling was up, I was able to start installing the shower basin. This is a basin that I had purchased preformed. It's a preformed shower basin that you can put in most RVs or a cabin if you wanted, I guess. But I did have to build up the floor. You can see the floor on the bottom came off the ground, or came off the trailer floor by about 3 inches, I believe is what it was. And this was also needed for two things. For one, I didn't want to stand on just the shower basin itself and just hope that the little plastic walls were going to be enough strength to hold the weight of somebody standing in there. So I built the shower basin up off the ground for the reason of us to make it more sturdy, I guess. And so you could stand in that shower and not have to worry about the little plastic walls buckling. I highly recommend doing that if you're going to install one of these shower basins. The other one is I needed it off the ground enough as well so that I could install all of the plumbing underneath that shower basin. This little area I had was very tight, and I had to create a P-trap so that the water would create a watertight seal, so you don't get the smell, I guess, coming up out of the holding tank. Because just like a P-trap, it'll seal any kind of water, or not water, but any kind of fumes or vapor coming up out of that tank. So I had to try to squeeze all that plumbing underneath there to create that P-trap. It took me a little bit, but I was finally able to get in there and get it all done. Right here, I'm installing some stainless steel panhead screws that I bought to secure the shower basin down to the base that I built and secure it to the trailer so it doesn't want to move anywhere. Here you can see some of that plumbing that I was installing or talking about. This is the P-trap that I built and designed specifically for this little area. Like I said, once it was all installed, it worked out really good. I don't have any leaks, and the P-trap function of it works just the way that it should. And most importantly, it drains the way that it should. I don't have any backup of water or anything like that when the water's going inside the shower. So I did buy, like I was saying, I bought stainless steel screws to install, and secure this to the basin. I did later on, I did seal up all the seals and whatnot with caulking to make sure that there was not going to be any water or any kind of moisture going underneath this thing once it was finally installed and all the floors were installed. Here you can just see right here, I just kind of panned away. This is after I'd gotten the trailer built. And I just wanted to show real quick what it looked like behind the little door there that they give you to check on the plumbing. So through time, I'll be able to come in here and just check and make sure everything's working as advertised and that I don't have any leaks. But you can see my my buildup there for the shower basin. It's just a 3/4 inch piece of wood, plywood over the top of 2x4s. So once all that was installed, I could start attaching everything permanently to the walls and whatnot. So here I'm just marking out where I want to drill holes for my panhead screws. So I would have marked out, drilled holes, and then installed my panhead screws. It turned out though that those panhead screws went right through the plastic and I didn't really need to drill any holes. So I wound up just drilling right through and it worked out just fine. I did have a little bit of gap there just to the left through probably fault of my own about from when I was framing it in. For whatever reason, I had a gap, but I was able to fill that in with caulking. And by the time the panel board went up, I would have, you never see it anyway. So right here, you can see I'm just cleaning the walls with just a water so that I could spray glue on the walls. This is what I use to attach the shower surround with. Right here, I'm just filling up the crack right there with some of that spray foam. That worked out really well, and because I didn't want a huge giant gap that I'd have to try to fill up with caulking, so I used some of this spray foam. I let it harden, and then I was able to form it up, and it created a great little space. And then on top of that, I was able to come back in and add the caulking. Once the shower basin was all sealed up and I felt good about it, then it was time to install the shower surround. These were 4x8 sheets of FRP that I purchased from the Home Depot, which, by the way, those FRP panels are over by the wood section, the trim wood section over in Home Depot. If you're looking for them, it took me a while to try to find them, but that's where they store them. So these are 4x8 sheets. These have a rough finish to the surface. To cut them, I just used my 4-foot level. I marked out the paces that I needed to cut, and then I was just able to use a pair of snips like you might use on sheet metal to cut the pieces out. You don't have to make such a close cut because it's going to be buried underneath caulking throughout the seams, although you do want them to fit so that they don't bow. So when you do install these, definitely make sure that you cut them back just a little bit from the edges so that they have room to expand and breathe a little bit so that they're not hugging up against each other's perspective surface. You need that little bit of the gap there. Otherwise, they will expand and that'll actually bow or pop the panel off of the glue that you try to glue it onto the wall with. And once each piece was cut out, I simply sprayed the wall and the back with a spray glue from 3M. And I think I also used Gorilla Glue as well and installed them. And I did pen each one of the corners with a panhead screw up top and down below. Each one of those screws would have been underneath a piece of trim, so I would have never seen it once everything is installed. You can see at the top of there, there's some black paint. I did that for trim purposes when I installed the final piece of trim, so that if you ever looked up underneath there, you wouldn't see wood color. It would just be all black and everything would blend together. Some of these little things I had to think about. So right here, I'm just taking a water and a sponge, and I'm just cleaning down the surfaces where I added caulking in the seams, and I'm just making sure everything's smoothed out, and so that it's all nice and smooth, and I don't have any jagged edges from the caulking or anything. The sponge and the water did a really good job of cleaning everything up. And here again, you can see me adding some caulking to the seams and then taking a wet sponge and smoothing out all of those seams. I also used the water and the sponge to clean up any kind of tool marks I had on the wallboard during the process of installing it. It made for a really smooth transition from the wallboard down to the basin. And also, the basin itself, you can see just, you can't see it, but just behind the wallboard, there's a lip that's molded into the basin itself, and the wallboard drops down from the wall just in front of that seam. So you actually have a very tight seam between the wall basin and the shower basin, or the wall and the shower basin. So there's no way water is going to be able to wick up and back over the wall. Not to mention, behind all that, I had seamed everything up anyway with the silicone. So once all the wall boards were up, it was now time to install the trim work. For this, I used the same wood that I used in the ceiling of the trailer. This is a blue pine that I found at Home Depot. It's a tongue and groove wood. I simply cut off the tongues and the grooves, and I made it to the width that I wanted for each one of the pieces of trim. This would have been about 4 inches, I think 4.5 inches wide is the trim that I wanted. And so the reason I chose this wood is I did like the finish of it. It has a rough sawn. One side is completely rough sawn, and it's also very light. It's very lightweight. So when I was picking materials for the trailer, I had to think about the weight of the trailer at the end when it was completely built. And I didn't want to go over gross on the trailer weight. So I had to be very picky about the materials that I was using. And it just so happens that I found this wallboard, or excuse me, that I found this trim, this blue pine, and it's extremely light. So it worked out really good. I also painted the trim later, a white color throughout the rest of the trailer, and it turned out really nice. And the last thing I installed for the shower build was my hot water tank underneath the kitchen sink. This is just a small Bosch 2.5 gallon 110 electric hot water tank. Very compact, and it's kind of almost like an on-demand type tank. The hot water will get water, just like the rest of the trailer, from a freshwater tank that'll be just to the right and below where I'm working here. You can see to the right of the screen, there's an outlet. That's a 110 outlet that I installed. And I added a outdoor style cover to that outlet just to ensure that if something was to leak underneath the sink here, my outlet would be protected from any kind of water encroachment. So I felt a little bit better about doing that. And again, here I'm just installing some of the clamps to make sure all the PEX line stays in place. Well, I'm just going to finish up installing my PEX line to my hot water tank here underneath the kitchen sink. I hope you liked the video. Thanks for following along, and I'll see you on the next one.